I think the question for Christian schools, Don, really boils down to whether Title IX applies to you or not. And so it circles heavily back to this analysis of, do you receive federal funds? Because I will say this, for the Christian schools that are members of our program, every K-12 school I've spoken with, and Greg works a lot with the colleges as well, they're running typically traditional brick and mortar type of schools. If you're running an education program or activity, that's a very broad definition that the DOJ enforces and interprets with Title IX. And so let's assume that, if you're a Christian school, you've already satisfied prong one of whether Title IX applies. You're running an ed program or activity. So we're really centered on prong two here, is, do you receive federal funds that trip the trigger for Title IX? And so on that note, I would say, if you're a school and you know that you receive absolutely no federal funding or federal financial assistance of any sort, then there's no impact. You on the Monopoly board, you can pass go and collect $200. So the things get a little bit more tricky once you start getting into grants and special funding programs. Sometimes it's a little ambiguous about whether the funding is actually federal or state. We'll talk about that later. But if you have questions about it, you should seek legal counsel. And thirdly, if you know that you're subject to Title IX, if you know you're receiving the type of federal funds that do implicate Title IX liability for you, then you should march forward to take all the steps to comply, to reasonably comply with the statute. And that's something that ADF, I should mention, is not equipped to support on overall general Title IX compliance. But what we are here to support on, we do talk to schools about every day, is how the religious exemption works. And so the other encouragement I have for Christian schools is to make sure that you're aware of the religious exemption, you understand how it works, how it functions, what it covers, and then you make sure that your documents are in good order, your policies and your processes, to be able to tap into the benefit and receive the coverage, the protection of that religious exemption.